Imagine a world where the woman everyone scorns as weak and broken hides a secret that could shake New York's elite to its core. What if the blind girl mocked at her own wedding was secretly a billionaire pulling the strings of a corporate empire? Welcome to the story of Lauren Hayes, a young woman trapped in a web of betrayal, greed, and hidden truths, yet destined to rise above it all with love as her guiding light. This is a tale of heartbreak, triumph, and a romance that will steal your breath, set against the glittering skyline of New York City. Lauren Hayes lives a double life. By day, she's the quiet, blind wife of William Reed, the comatose heir of Reed Enterprises, married through a cold contract to protect a family's reputation. But behind closed doors, she's Rachel Morgan, the fierce CEO of Pinnacle Group, a rising star in Manhattan's cutthroat business world. Only Lauren knows the truth. Her blindness is a facade, a shield she's worn for a year to uncover the mystery of her parents' deadly car crash. Her sharp mind and iron will have built an empire, but her heart aches for justice and a love she never expected to find. In the opulent mansions of Long Island and the sleek boardrooms of Manhattan, Lauren faces enemies at every turn. Her adoptive family, the Dawsons, led by the greedy Edward and his jealous daughter Jessica, will stop at nothing to seize her parents' fortune. A cunning rival, Ryan Mitchell, schemes to destroy her company, while a glamorous socialite, Isabel Parker, vies for William's heart. And then there's Eleanor Reed, William's mother, whose secrets threaten to tear Lauren's world apart. Each step Lauren takes brings her closer to danger, but also to William, the man who sees beyond her disguise. As secrets unravel and passions ignite, Lauren's journey will test her courage and redefine her future. Will she expose the truth about her parents' death? Can she outsmart her enemies and claim the love she deserves? From the shadows of scorn to the heights of power, this story will grip your heart and leave you cheering. Stay with us for 60 minutes of drama, romance, and a woman's unbreakable spirit. Lauren's enemies will regret underestimating her, but will love heal her scars. Let's begin. In the heart of Long Island's sprawling estates, where wealth casts long shadows, Lauren Hayes stood at the altar of a wedding that felt more like a funeral. The grand ballroom of the Reed family mansion glittered with chandeliers, but the air was thick with disdain. Lauren, her eyes hidden behind tinted contact lenses that mimicked blindness, clutched her bouquet as whispers swirled around her. She was 25, orphaned, and to the guests a pitiful figure in a contract marriage to William Reed, the comatose heir of Reed Enterprises. The Reeds needed a bride to maintain their pristine public image while William lay in a hospital bed, and Lauren's adoptive family, the Dawsons, had eagerly sold her for a hefty payout. To the world, she was a blind girl, helpless and unworthy, but beneath her fragile facade burned a fire no one could see. The ceremony was a blur of cold vows and forced smiles. Jessica Dawson, Lauren's cousin, leaned close, her voice dripping with venom. "You're nothing but a charity case," she hissed, adjusting Lauren's veil with a cruel tug. Edward Dawson, her uncle, stood nearby, his eyes gleaming with the satisfaction of the deal he'd struck with Eleanor Reed, William's mother. The guests, New York's elite, murmured their pity and scorn. "Poor thing marrying a man who can't even see her," one said. "The Dawsons must be desperate to pawn her off," another chuckled. Lauren's hands trembled, not from fear, but from rage. She'd only been pretending to be blind for a year, a careful act to protect herself while she unraveled the truth about her parents' death in a mysterious car crash. That truth, she swore, would be her revenge. As the reception began, Jessica shoved a glass of champagne into Lauren's hand, daring her to drink. "Don't embarrass us, blind girl," she sneered, knowing Lauren couldn't see the mocking faces around her. Lauren lifted the glass, her lips grazing the rim, but her mind was elsewhere. She remembered the day she regained her sight, a secret miracle after years of darkness caused by the crash that killed her parents. She'd discovered their hidden fortune, a legacy Edward Dawson had tried to steal since she was a child. With that money, Lauren had built Pinnacle Group, a rising conglomerate, under the alias Rachel Morgan. No one in this room, not even the Reeds, knew the power she held. She set the glass down untouched, her silence louder than any toast. Days later, Lauren slipped away from the Reed mansion, her heart pounding with purpose. In a Manhattan penthouse, she shed her tinted lenses, donned a sleek wig, and transformed into Rachel Morgan. Her voice, usually soft and hesitant, became sharp and commanding. At a corporate summit in a gleaming skyscraper, New York's business titans gathered to bid on a massive Brooklyn redevelopment project. Rachel strode to the podium, her presence silencing the room. "Pinnacle Group's proposal is unmatched," she declared, her eyes scanning the crowd. Ryan Mitchell, the brash CEO of Tiger Investments, smirked from the front row. He'd spread rumors about her, calling her a nobody who'd climbed the ranks through charm. Rachel didn't flinch. She unveiled data proving Pinnacle's efficiency, outbidding Ryan's inflated offer. The room erupted in applause, and Ryan's face twisted with fury. Rachel Morgan was no nobody, and Lauren Hayes was no victim. Back at the summit's cocktail hour, Rachel moved through the crowd, her wig and makeup a perfect disguise. She overheard Ryan plotting to sabotage her next deal, but she only smiled. Every move he made, she'd counter. Her mind flashed to her parents, their laughter echoing in her childhood home before the crash that stole them away. The police had called it an accident, but Lauren had found inconsistencies in the report, details that pointed to foul play. Edward Dawson, her father's brother, had been too quick to claim guardianship, too eager to rummage through their estate. She'd spent the last year as a blind girl to watch him, to listen, to learn. Pinnacle Group wasn't just her empire, it was her weapon. Returning to the Reed mansion, Lauren slipped back into her role as the meek bride. The sprawling estate, with its marble floors and silent corridors, felt like a cage. Edward Dawson waited in the drawing room, his voice oily as he greeted her. "Lauren, we need to talk about your parents' estate," he said, pacing. "I found a document years ago, a trust fund worth millions." "Where is it?" Lauren's heart raced, but she kept her face blank, her eyes unfocused. "I don't know, Uncle Edward," she murmured. "I was just a kid when they died." Edward's frustration boiled over. "You're useless," he snapped. "But I'll find it, with or without you." Jessica lounged nearby, filing her nails, her smirk cutting deeper than words. They thought they could break her, but Lauren's resolve only hardened. Alone in her room, Lauren removed her lenses, staring into the mirror. Her parents' faces haunted her, their love the only warmth she'd known before the Dawsons' cruelty. Edward had taken her in after the crash, but his kindness was a lie. She remembered cold meals, locked doors, and Jessica's taunts through her teenage years. The trust fund Edward sought was real, but Lauren had already claimed it, funneling it into Pinnacle Group. She'd hired a private investigator to dig into the crash, and every clue pointed to Edward's involvement. He'd been at their house the night before the accident, arguing with her father. Why? She didn't know yet, but she would. Lauren's thoughts were interrupted by a knock. A maid informed her that Eleanor Reed wanted to see her. In the mansion study, Eleanor sat like a queen, her eyes cold. "You're a Reed now, Lauren," she said. "Act like it. Don't shame us in public." Lauren nodded, her voice soft but her mind raced. Eleanor's control over Reed Enterprises was ironclad, but Lauren sensed cracks in her facade. She'd overheard whispers of financial irregularities, deals Eleanor hid from the board. If Lauren could uncover those secrets, she'd have leverage. For now, she played the obedient bride, but her heart beat with defiance. As night fell, Lauren sat by her window, the Long Island stars faint against the city's glow. She thought of William, still a stranger, his face unknown to her except through photographs. He was the key to her freedom, but also a risk. If he woke, would he see through her disguise? Would he be another enemy, or something more? Lauren clutched a locket, a gift from her mother, and whispered a vow. "I'll find the truth, Mom, Dad. I'll make them pay." Her journey had just begun, and the Dawsons, the Reeds, and all of New York would soon learn who Lauren Hayes truly was. The Long Island mansion hummed with quiet tension as Lauren Hayes moved through its halls, her tinted contact lenses shielding her secret. A year into her marriage to William Reed, the comatose heir of Reed Enterprises, She'd perfected the art of appearing blind. Every step was measured, every gesture practiced, but her heart raced with purpose. She was no longer just the scorned bride. She was Rachel Morgan, CEO of Pinnacle Group, and her mission to uncover the truth about her parents' deadly car crash burned brighter each day. Yet whispers in the Reed household hinted at change. William, the man she'd never met, was stirring. If he woke, Lauren's carefully woven disguise might unravel, and with it, her plans for justice. One crisp autumn morning, the mansion's stillness broke. Eleanor Reed summoned Lauren to the grand parlor, her voice sharp. "William's awake," she announced, her eyes narrowing. "He's coming home. Behave, Lauren, or you'll regret it." Lauren nodded, her face a mask of submission, but her mind whirled. William's return could be a threat or an opportunity. She'd seen his photographs, his strong jaw and thoughtful eyes, but knew nothing of his heart. Would he be another pawn of his mother's, or could he see the woman beneath her facade? As Eleanor dismissed her, Lauren's fingers brushed the locket around her neck, her parents' gift. Whatever came next, she'd face it on her terms. William Reed arrived that evening, his presence filling the mansion like a storm. Lauren stood in the foyer, her cane tapping softly as he entered. His voice, deep and steady, greeted the staff, but when he turned to her, a warmth softened his tone. "Lauren, I'm William," he said. "I'm sorry we're meeting like this." She murmured a shy reply, her head tilted to hide her eyes, but his nearness sent a shiver through her. He was no longer a name on a contract. He was real, and his gaze lingered as if searching for something. When he steadied her arm to guide her to the dining room, his touch was gentle, unexpected. For the first time, Lauren felt a flicker of something dangerous. Hope. Over the next few days, William's presence changed the mansion's rhythm. He was kind but watchful, his questions probing. "You seem to know this house well for someone who can't see," he remarked once, his tone curious. Lauren's heart skipped, but she laughed it off, claiming she'd memorized the layout. His suspicion unnerved her, yet his small acts of care, like pulling out her chair or describing the sunset she pretended not to see, stirred feelings she couldn't afford. One evening, as they sat in the garden, William spoke of his coma, the months lost to darkness. "I woke up wanting to live, Lauren," he said. "What do you want?" Her throat tightened. To be free, she thought, but said only, "to belong." His hand brushed hers, and for a moment the world felt softer. But danger loomed beyond the mansion's walls. In Manhattan, Lauren donned her Rachel Morgan persona, her wig and confident stride transforming her. At a high-stakes business conference in a gleaming midtown hotel, Pinnacle Group was poised to secure a partnership for the Brooklyn redevelopment project. Ryan Mitchell, the slick CEO of Tiger Investments, stood in her way. He'd been spreading lies, whispering to investors that Rachel had won contracts through seduction, not skill. As she took the stage, her voice cut through the room's murmurs. "Pinnacle Group's vision is built on integrity," she declared, presenting irrefutable financial projections. The investors nodded, impressed. But Ryan's smirk didn't fade. He leaned close after her speech, his breath hot. "You're playing a dangerous game, Rachel," he said. "I'll bury you." She met his gaze, unflinching. "Try it," she replied, and walked away, her heart pounding with defiance. Ryan's threat wasn't empty. Later, at the conference's networking gala, Lauren spotted Jessica Dawson among the crowd, her cousin's eyes glinting with malice. Jessica had been invited as a +1, her social climbing ambitions clear. She didn't recognize Rachel, but her presence set Lauren on edge. As Rachel mingled, securing allies for Pinnacle, Jessica's voice carried across the room, gossiping about the blind Reed bride. "She's a leech," Jessica told a group, "living off their wealth." Lauren's hands clenched, but she stayed composed, her Rachel persona unshaken. She couldn't afford a scene, not when Jessica's father, Edward, was tightening his grip. Back in Long Island, Edward's demands grew bolder. One rainy afternoon, he cornered Lauren in the mansion's library, his face twisted with greed. "I know your parents left a fortune," he growled, I found their trust fund papers when you were a kid and I want my share." Lauren's pulse raced, but she kept her voice small. "I don't remember any papers, Uncle," she said, her eyes unfocused. Edward slammed his fist on a table, making her flinch. "You're lying," he snapped. "I'll drag you through the courts if I have to." Jessica lounged nearby, smirking. "Maybe we'll post online. Tell the world you're a fraud," she added. Lauren's fear was real, but so was her resolve. She'd protected her parents' legacy by building Pinnacle, and she wouldn't let the Dawsons take it. That night, Lauren's investigator sent a coded message, new evidence about the car crash. A witness had seen Edward near her parents' home hours before the accident, arguing about money. The brakes on their car, the report hinted, might have been tampered with. Lauren's blood ran cold. Edward wasn't just greedy, he might be a murderer. She needed more proof, and her blind act was her only shield. But William's growing attention complicated everything. He'd started joining her for evening walks, his questions sharper. "You're stronger than you seem, Lauren," he said one night, his voice soft but probing. She smiled, deflecting, but her heart ached. She wanted to trust him, to confess, but the risk was too great. Desperate for a moment of peace, Lauren slipped away to Central Park one evening, still posing as the blind bride. William insisted on joining her, claiming fresh air would do them good. As they sat on a bench, the city's hum around them, he spoke of his own burdens. "My mother wants me to be the perfect heir," he said, "but I just want to build something real." Lauren's guards softened. "My parents wanted me to be happy," she whispered, her voice breaking. "They're gone, but I carry them with me." William's hand covered hers, warm and steady. "You're not alone anymore," he said. The words pierced her, and for a moment, she imagined a life where she could be herself, not a lie. But the Dawsons' schemes shattered her fleeting calm. The next morning, Jessica sent Lauren a chilling text, a screenshot of a fake social media post accusing Lauren of stealing the Reed fortune. "Pay up, or this goes viral," Jessica wrote. Lauren's stomach churned. The post was a lie, but in the age of online scandals, it could ruin her carefully built life. She met Edward and Jessica at a secluded Long Island cafe, her cane tapping for show. "I don't have the money," she said, her voice trembling. Edward laughed coldly. "Then we'll destroy you," he said. As they left, Lauren's fear turned to fury. She'd outsmart them, just as she had Ryan. William found her later sitting alone in the mansion's garden, her face pale. "What's wrong?" he asked, kneeling beside her. Lauren hesitated, then let a half-truth spill. "My family's pressuring me," she said. "They think I'm worthless." William's jaw tightened. "You're not worthless, Lauren. You're incredible." His words, fierce and tender, broke something in her. She wanted to tell him everything, to shed her disguise, but Jessica's threat loomed. As William walked her back inside, his arm steadying her, Lauren made a silent vow. She'd protect her heart, her empire, and her parents' memory. The Dawsons and Ryan Mitchell were closing in, but Lauren Hayes was ready to fight. The autumn leaves in Long Island glowed crimson, but inside the Reed mansion, a storm was brewing. Lauren Hayes moved through her days with the precision of a tightrope walker, her tinted contact lenses hiding the truth she'd guarded for a year. She was not blind. As the secret CEO of Pinnacle Group, under the alias Rachel Morgan, Lauren had built an empire to uncover the mystery of her parents' fatal car crash, but the walls were closing in. William Reed, her husband through a cold contract marriage, was no longer a distant figure. His kindness and sharp questions threatened to pierce her disguise, while her adoptive family, the Dawsons, tightened their grip with threats of scandal. Lauren's heart wavered between love and fear, but her resolve to find justice burned brighter than ever. William's presence in the mansion had become a quiet anchor. He sought Lauren out daily, his conversations laced with curiosity and care. One morning, as they walked the estate's gardens, he described the golden hues of the foliage, unaware she could see every detail. "You make it sound alive," she said softly, her voice catching. William smiled, his hand grazing hers. "I want you to feel the world, Lauren," he said, "not just live in it." Her chest tightened. His sincerity was a gift she couldn't fully accept, not while she hid who she was. Yet each moment with him chipped away at her defenses, making her wonder if she could trust him with her truth. But trust was a luxury she couldn't afford, not when Edward and Jessica Dawson were plotting their next move. In Manhattan, the stakes were higher. Lauren slipped into her Rachel Morgan persona, her wig and confident stride transforming her into a titan of industry. At a glamorous gala in a Fifth Avenue ballroom, New York's elite gathered to celebrate Pinnacle Group's latest triumph, a contract to lead Brooklyn's redevelopment. Rachel glided through the crowd, sealing alliances with a smile, but danger lurked in the shadows. Isabel Parker, a stunning socialite with her sights on William, approached with a venomous grin. "You're quite the mystery, Rachel," she purred. "Some say you're all flash, no substance." Rachel's eyes sparkled with defiance. "And some say you're chasing a man who doesn't want you," she replied. Isabel's face hardened, but before she could retort, a familiar voice cut through the chatter. Jessica Dawson stood nearby, her presence like a dark cloud. She'd wormed her way into the gala, her ambition to climb New York's social ladder clear. "Rachel Morgan," she sneered to a group of investors. "She's probably a fraud, just like my cousin, that blind leech living off the reeds." Lauren's blood boiled, but she kept her composure, her Rachel persona unshaken. She stepped forward, her voice calm but lethal. "Jessica, wasn't it?" she said. "I hear you've been sued for fraud yourself. Care to explain?" The crowd turned, murmuring as Jessica's face flushed red. She stammered, then fled, her humiliation complete. Rachel's victory was sweet, but Jessica's words lingered. If her cousin ever connected Rachel to Lauren, the consequences could be catastrophic. William, a guest at the gala, watched the exchange from across the room. His eyes narrowed, a flicker of recognition passing through them. Rachel Morgan's poise, her sharp wit, felt eerily familiar. He'd been studying Lauren, noting her quiet strength, her uncanny awareness. Could they be the same woman? He pushed the thought aside, but doubt took root. As Rachel left the gala, William approached, his voice low. "Impressive performance, Miss Morgan," he said. "You remind me of someone." Rachel's heart raced, but she laughed lightly. "I get that a lot," she said, and slipped away, her pulse pounding. She couldn't let him get closer, not yet. Back in Long Island, the Dawsons' schemes escalated. Edward had grown desperate, his greed fueled by the trust fund he'd discovered years ago in Lauren's parents' estate. One stormy evening, he ambushed Lauren in the mansion's study, his eyes wild. "I know you're hiding the money," he growled. "I broke into your old room and found a safe. It's empty now, but I took your parents' trust fund papers. Give me $10 million, or I'll forge them and sue you for everything." Lauren's stomach dropped. She'd moved the real documents to a secure vault, but Edward's theft was a blow. Her voice trembled, part act, part truth. "I don't have millions, Uncle," she said. "I'm just a blind girl." Edward laughed, cruel and cold. "Then I'll make sure the world knows you're a liar," he said. Jessica, lounging nearby, smirked. "We'll post those papers online," she added. "Ruin your precious Reed name." Lauren's fear was real, but so was her cunning. She'd anticipated Edward's greed. Months ago, she'd hired a private investigator to trace his past, and the evidence was mounting. The investigator's latest report, delivered in a coded email, was chilling. Edward had been in debt to dangerous people the night before her parents' crash. He'd argued with her father, demanding a loan, and left in a rage. The car's brake lines, the report noted, showed signs of tampering. Lauren's hands shook as she read the words. Edward wasn't just a thief. He might have killed her parents. She needed those stolen documents to prove it, but confronting him now would expose her blindness. She had to play the long game, even as her heart screamed for justice. William's suspicions grew harder to dodge. One evening, as they sat in the mansion's library, he handed her a book, his fingers brushing hers. "Read to me," he said, his tone teasing but sharp. Lauren froze, then laughed nervously. "You know I can't," she said, but he pressed the book closer. "Try," he urged. Her mind raced. She traced the pages, pretending to struggle, but recited a passage from memory, her voice soft. William's eyes widened, a mix of awe and doubt. "You're full of surprises, Lauren," he said. She changed the subject, her heart pounding, but the air between them crackled with unspoken questions. His gaze lingered, warm yet searching, and Lauren felt the walls around her heart begin to crumble. The pressure from the Dawsons reached a breaking point. Jessica sent Lauren a new message, a draft social media post with the stolen trust fund papers, accusing her of fraud. "Pay up by tomorrow or this goes live," it read. Lauren's hands trembled, but she refused to break. She met Edward and Jessica at a dimly lit Long Island diner, her cane tapping for show. "I don't have the money," she said, her voice small. Edward leaned close, his breath sour. "Then you're done," he hissed. "We'll ruin you and the Reeds." Jessica smirked, snapping a photo of Lauren's defeated expression. "Look at the blind girl, so pathetic," she said. Lauren's fear masked her fury. She'd turned their game against them, but she needed time. In Manhattan, Rachel Morgan's star continued to rise. At Pinnacle Group's headquarters, Lauren finalized the Brooklyn project, outmaneuvering Ryan Mitchell's desperate bids. William, now a partner through Reed Enterprises, sent emails praising Rachel's strategy, unaware she was his wife. Their digital exchanges were professional but warm, and Lauren found herself smiling at his words. He respected Rachel, admired her strength, and she longed to show him the truth. But Ryan's sabotage loomed. He'd hired a hacker to leak false financial reports about Pinnacle, hoping to tank its stock. Rachel caught the plot in time, releasing a public statement that exposed Ryan's lies. Investors rallied behind her, and Pinnacle soared, but Ryan's defeat only fueled his vendetta. One night, as Lauren returned to the mansion, William was waiting in the foyer. "You were out late," he said, his voice gentle but edged with concern. Lauren's cane faltered. "Just a walk," she lied, but he stepped closer, his eyes searching hers. "You don't need to hide from me, Lauren," he said. "I see you, more than you think." Her breath caught. His words felt like a promise, but also a warning. She mumbled an excuse and fled to her room, her heart racing. The stolen documents, Edward's threats, and William's suspicions were a tightening noose. She clutched her parents' locket, whispering a vow. "I'll find the truth, no matter the cost." But as she stared out at the Long Island night, Lauren knew the cost might be her heart, her empire, or both. The gala's triumph and the Dawsons' betrayal had pushed her to the edge, and the truth was closer than ever. The Long Island dawn broke with a chill, but inside Lauren Hayes a fire raged. For a year she'd worn the mask of a blind bride, her tinted contact lenses hiding her true sight as she built Pinnacle Group under the alias Rachel Morgan. Her mission to uncover the truth about her parents' fatal car crash had led her to the edge, with her adoptive family, the Dawsons, threatening to destroy her with stolen trust fund papers. Edward Dawson's ultimatum echoed in her mind: pay $10 million, or he'd forge the documents and ruin her. His daughter Jessica had already drafted a social media post to smear Lauren as a fraud. Meanwhile, William Reed, her husband through a contract marriage, was unraveling her secrets with every gentle word and probing glance. Lauren's heart ached for his trust, but the truth could shatter everything. As she stood in the Reed mansion's quiet halls, she knew the storm was about to break. Jessica's next move came swiftly. She sent Lauren an invitation to a charity gala at a glittering Manhattan hotel, claiming it was a chance to clear the air. But Lauren sensed a trap. Jessica had never shown kindness, only cruelty, and her recent humiliation at the Fifth Avenue gala fueled her desperation. Lauren's investigator confirmed her fears. Jessica had hired a shady contact to sabotage the event, though the details were unclear. As Rachel Morgan, Lauren was expected to speak at the gala announcing Pinnacle Group's lead role in Brooklyn's redevelopment. Refusing would raise suspicion, but attending could be deadly. She clutched her parents' locket, whispering a vow. "I won't let them win, Mom, Dad." With William's suspicions growing and Edward's deadline looming, Lauren prepared to face her enemies head-on. The gala was a spectacle of wealth, with Manhattan's elite filling the hotel's grand ballroom. Lauren arrived as Rachel Morgan, her wig and confident stride masking the fear in her heart. She took the stage, her voice steady as she unveiled Pinnacle's plans for Brooklyn. Affordable housing, green spaces, a legacy her parents would have loved. The crowd applauded, but Jessica stood at the back, her smirk chilling. William was there too, his eyes locked on Rachel, a mix of admiration and doubt. Lauren's speech ended, and she stepped down, her pulse racing. She scanned the room, noticing a maintenance worker lingering near the massive chandelier above the stage. Something was wrong. As Lauren moved through the crowd, Jessica approached, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "Rachel, you're the star tonight," she said, loud enough for others to hear. "Let's take a photo by the stage." Lauren hesitated, her instincts screaming danger. Before she could refuse, a low groan echoed from above. The chandelier swayed, then plummeted, its crystal shards crashing onto the stage where Lauren had stood moments before. Screams erupted as guests fled, and Lauren stumbled, her arm grazed by a falling fragment. Pain seared through her, but she stayed upright, her eyes darting to Jessica. Her cousin's face was pale, her triumph replaced by panic. This wasn't just a scare, it was meant to kill. William surged through the chaos, reaching Lauren's side. "Are you hurt?" he demanded, his hands steadying her. She shook her head, blood trickling down her arm, but her mind raced. Jessica had orchestrated this, and Lauren would make her pay. William guided her to a quiet corner, his eyes fierce. "That wasn't an accident," he said. "Tell me what's going on, Rachel, or whoever you are." Lauren's heart stopped. His words cut through her disguise, but before she could respond, Jessica pushed through the crowd, her voice shrill. "Oh, Rachel, thank goodness you're okay," she cried, her concern a blatant lie. Lauren's fury boiled over. She stepped forward, her Rachel persona blazing. "Jessica, you planned this," she said, loud enough for the stunned guests to hear. "You hired someone to drop that chandelier, didn't you?" The room fell silent, all eyes on Jessica. Her face crumpled, and in a moment of reckless desperation she snapped. "So what if I did?" she shouted. "You've had everything, money, power, William. Well, I've had nothing. My father made me do it. He's got debts, and your fortune was our way out." Gasps rippled through the crowd, and William's jaw tightened. Lauren's voice was ice. "You tried to kill me for money," she said. "But you'll answer for it, Jessica, and so will Edward." She turned to the hotel staff, who'd called security. "Hold her," she ordered. "The police are on their way." Jessica lunged, her hands clawing, but guards restrained her, dragging her away as she screamed. The gala dissolved into chaos, but Lauren felt a strange calm. The truth was out, and she was still standing. William pulled Lauren into a side room, his face a storm of emotions. "You're not just Rachel Morgan, are you?" he said, his voice low. Lauren's arm throbbed, her strength fading, but she couldn't lie anymore. She removed her wig, letting her real hair fall, and slipped off her tinted lenses, revealing eyes that saw everything. "I'm Lauren Hayes," she said, her voice trembling. "Your wife? I've been pretending to be blind for a year to protect myself, to find out who killed my parents. Edward Dawson's behind it, and I needed to stay hidden to prove it." William's breath caught, his eyes searching hers. "Why didn't you trust me?" he asked, pain in his voice. Lauren's tears welled. "I wanted to," she whispered, "but I was scared. I've lost everyone I've ever loved." William stepped closer, his hand cupping her face. "You haven't lost me," he said. "I've seen you, Lauren, the real you, the way you fight, the way you care. I've been falling for you since the moment I came home." Her heart raced, torn between fear and longing. He leaned in, his lips brushing hers in a kiss that felt like a promise. For the first time, Lauren let herself believe in love, but the weight of her mission lingered. Jessica's confession was a start, but Edward was still out there, and the stolen documents could still destroy her. William's arms steadied her as she swayed, her injury taking its toll. "We need to get you to a hospital," he said, his voice firm, "and then we'll face this together." At the hospital, Lauren sat in a sterile room, her arm bandaged. The police had arrested Jessica, who'd confessed to hiring a worker to sabotage the chandelier, hoping to kill Rachel Morgan and frame it as an accident. She'd implicated Edward, revealing his plan to use the forged trust fund papers to extort Lauren's fortune. The police were now hunting for him, and Lauren's investigator was closing in on evidence linking Edward to the car crash. Her parents' brake lines, the report confirmed, had been cut, and Edward's fingerprints were on a wrench found at the scene. Lauren's hands shook as she read the update. Justice was near, but the cost had been high. William sat beside her, his presence a quiet strength. "Tell me everything," he said, his voice gentle. Lauren took a deep breath, the weight of her secrets lifting. "My parents died when I was a teenager," she began. "I went blind from the trauma, but a year ago I regained my sight. I found their trust fund and built Pinnacle Group to honor them, to find out who took them from me. Edward was always greedy, but I think he killed them for the money. I married you to stay close to him, to watch him, but I never expected—" She paused, her voice breaking. "I never expected you." William's eyes softened. "I love you, Lauren," he said. "Not the contract, not the facade. You. We'll finish this together." Lauren's tears fell, but they were tears of relief. William's love was a lifeline, pulling her from the darkness she'd carried alone. As he held her hand, she felt the strength to face the final battle. Edward's schemes, Ryan Mitchell's vendetta, and Eleanor Reed's secrets still loomed, but Lauren was no longer the scared girl who'd entered the Reed mansion. She was Rachel Morgan, a titan of industry, and Lauren Hayes, a woman who'd found love in the ashes of betrayal. The gala's chaos had exposed her enemies, but it had also revealed her heart. As the hospital room faded to quiet, Lauren made a silent vow. She'd bring Edward to justice, protect her empire, and build a future with William. The truth was out, and nothing would stop her now. The hospital room in Manhattan was quiet, but Lauren Hayes felt the weight of a storm finally breaking. Her arm, bandaged from the chandelier crash at the gala, ached less than her heart had for years. She was no longer the blind bride hiding behind tinted lenses. She was Lauren Hayes, the woman who'd revealed her true self as Rachel Morgan, CEO of Pinnacle Group, to William Reed, her husband. The truth had cost her dearly, exposing her to enemies like Jessica Dawson, now in custody for attempted murder, and Edward Dawson, still at large with stolen trust fund papers. But William's love, declared in the hospital's dim light, was a beacon. As Lauren gripped his hand, she knew the final battle for justice and a future together was just beginning. The police moved swiftly. Edward Dawson, Jessica's father, was arrested within hours of the gala, tracked to a seedy Long Island motel. The stolen trust fund papers, forged to extort Lauren's fortune, were found in his possession, their alterations clumsy and obvious. But the real breakthrough came from Lauren's private investigator. A wrench from her parents' car crash, buried in old evidence, bore Edward's fingerprint. The brake lines, deliberately cut, pointed to murder, not an accident. Edward had killed her parents, driven by debt and greed for their wealth. In a stark interrogation room, he crumbled, confessing to tampering with the car after they refused him a loan. Lauren watched the recorded confession through a one-way mirror, her tears falling silently. Justice was hers, but the loss of her parents would never fade. William stood beside her, his presence steady. "You're not alone anymore," he whispered, and she believed him. Back at Pinnacle Group's Manhattan headquarters, Lauren faced another foe. Ryan Mitchell, the scheming CEO of Tiger Investments, had been quietly investigated after his failed sabotage of Pinnacle's finances. Lauren's team uncovered proof of his embezzlement, funneling millions from his own company to offshore accounts. She leaked the evidence to the press, and within days, Tiger Investments collapsed, its stock plummeting. Ryan's name became a cautionary tale in New York's business world, his empire reduced to ashes. Lauren, as Rachel Morgan, stood taller, her Brooklyn redevelopment project now a symbol of her parents' legacy. Pinnacle Group thrived, a testament to her strength, but her heart turned to the personal battles still unresolved. Eleanor Reed, William's mother, remained a shadow over Lauren's happiness. In the Reed mansion's opulent study, Lauren confronted her alone. She'd discovered Eleanor's secret, years of siphoning funds from Reed Enterprises to secure her control, hidden from William and the board. "I know what you've done," Lauren said, her voice calm but firm. "You've manipulated the company to keep William under your thumb." Eleanor's eyes flashed, but Lauren pressed on. "I'll keep your secret, but you'll support our marriage and step back from the company. If you don't, the board gets every detail." Eleanor's face tightened, her power slipping. "You're not the weak girl I thought," she said, her voice cold. Lauren smiled faintly. "I never was," Eleanor agreed, her concession grudging, but Lauren sensed she'd plot in silence. For now, the victory was enough. With her enemies defeated, Lauren turned to the love that had changed everything. One evening, she and William walked along Brooklyn Bridge, the city's lights shimmering below. The air was crisp, the future wide open. William stopped, turning to her, his eyes warm. "I married you as a stranger, Lauren," he said, "but I love you as my home. You're my partner, my equal, in every way. Will you stay with me, not because of a contract, but because you choose to?" Lauren's heart swelled, her parents' locket warm against her chest. "I choose you, William," she said, her voice steady. "Always." He pulled her close, their kiss sealing a promise stronger than any vow they'd spoken at their wedding. As they stood together, Lauren reflected on her journey. She'd come to the Reed mansion a year ago, a girl hiding her sight and her pain, determined to avenge her parents. Edward and Jessica Dawson had sought to break her, their greed a poison that nearly succeeded. Ryan Mitchell had underestimated her, and Eleanor Reed had misjudged her strength. But through it all, Lauren had found more than justice. She'd found William, a man who saw her soul and a purpose that honored her parents' memory. Pinnacle Group would grow, reshaping Brooklyn with the compassion her parents had taught her. The car crash mystery was solved, but questions lingered. Edward's confession hinted at other players, shadows Lauren might one day chase. For now, she was content to build a life with William, her empire and her heart secure. The Brooklyn Bridge stretched before them, a path between past and future. Lauren took William's hand, her fingers intertwining with his. She'd been a scorned bride, a secret titan, a daughter seeking truth. Now she was simply Lauren, a woman who'd fought for love and won. The city's pulse beat around them, a reminder of battles fought and dreams yet to come. As they walked into the night, Lauren knew her parents were watching, their love eternal. She'd made them proud, and with William by her side, she'd face whatever lay ahead. The stars above New York shone brighter, and for the first time, Lauren felt truly free. As Lauren Hayes and William Reed walked hand in hand across the Brooklyn Bridge, the lights of New York City shimmered like a promise kept. The scars of Lauren's past, etched by the loss of her parents and the betrayal of the Dawsons, had not faded, but they no longer defined her. She had entered the Reed mansion a year ago as a scorned bride, her sight hidden behind tinted lenses, her heart guarded by secrets. As Rachel Morgan, she'd built Pinnacle Group into a beacon of hope, honoring her parents' legacy with every brick laid in Brooklyn's redevelopment. Through greed, lies, and a near-fatal trap, Lauren had fought for justice and found love in William, the man who saw her true self when no one else could. Edward Dawson's confession had closed a painful chapter, his greed and guilt laid bare in a cold interrogation room. Jessica's schemes had crumbled, her jealousy no match for Lauren's resilience. Ryan Mitchell's empire had fallen, a cautionary tale of ambition unchecked. Even Eleanor Reed, with her hidden financial games, had bowed to Lauren's strength, though her wary eyes hinted at future shadows. Yet it was William's love, steady and unshaken, that anchored Lauren's heart. Their marriage, born of a contract, had blossomed into a bond forged in trust, a testament to the power of seeing beyond facades. Lauren's journey was more than a triumph over enemies. It was a reclaiming of her soul. She had walked through fire, her parents' locket her guiding star, and emerged not just a survivor, but a creator of dreams. Pinnacle Group would grow, a legacy of compassion, while her love with William promised a future where pain was softened by joy. The mystery of her parents' crash was solved, yet whispers of other hands in that tragedy lingered. A quiet call to keep searching. For now, Lauren stood on the bridge. William's warmth beside her, the city's pulse echoing her own. She was no longer the blind girl mocked by the world. She was Lauren Hayes, a woman who had rewritten her destiny, her heart alight with love and purpose, ready for whatever lay beyond the horizon.